Guaranteed 10% returns. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, for a lot of people, they believe that 10% returns are very, very easy to get. Whereas a lot of people online seem to say things like, where can you get that? That's not possible. LOL, you're never going to get that. I want to take you back to a podcast that I recorded in August 2024. It came out of frustration for people simply not starting to invest. I don't know how to invest. I didn't learn how to. I never had that education. I don't know where to start. I don't know what platform. I don't know what to put my money into. My frustration was simply just get started and learn along the way. So what I encouraged people to do was go through what it was that they actually needed to do to get themselves to the start line to start investing. Of course, I'm not giving investing advice, and I'm not going to tell people what to invest in because I don't know the future. However, it's very common in this country and in the world to teach people to invest into exchange-traded funds. Some people will say, well, actually, they don't even keep up with the true debasement of currency, and you should be investing into other things. So again, this is where the stuff gets very, very loud, and people then don't take any action. But I gave people an example of putting $1 into the Vanguard 500 index fund. So I did that. I put $1 US into that. Now I purchased that share live when recording the podcast, and it was the 20th of August, I believe. Now my dollar is now worth $1.11. So it's an 11% gain in less than 12 months. Where can you get 10% returns? Stop saying that. Start learning about investing instead, because we do have guaranteed 10% returns, and I will tell you what those are in a second. But this is the point. We need to just get started and get going on the journey and learn about this stuff, and then understand what people mean when they're like, yeah, it's easy to get a 10% return. Yeah, the averages are 8%. I had somebody asking earlier about, hey, this return's 18%. Seems too good to be true. I'm like, well, then your intuition maybe is telling you something. Maybe it's just telling you that the average doesn't normally sit that high, so you expect regression to the mean or the fact that it could go down at some stage. If you want to invest, you're going to have to learn how to go through volatility, because even for that Vanguard 500, at one stage, that investment was underwater. Now, I purchased it and it was roughly a $513 closing price when I put my dollar in. Now, in April 2025, it got down to $456. OMG. So I would have been underwater on that. And now in the back end of June 2025, it's $564 for a share. So my dollar is, like I say, worth $1.11. So we've got to get past this kind of, oh, where are you going to get that sort of return? Go on the investment journey. Sign up to the platforms. Start learning. Start learning from your KiwiSaver provider. Because I tell you what's happening in the background. We have inflation. Now, inflation sucks. It eats into the purchasing power of your dollar. Things keep costing even more. So what I did for you is I asked the Reserve Bank inflation calculator what $10,000 of general CPI in the 2015 quarter one period would cost in 2025 quarter one. So the answer is $13,326.97. What that means is our money is losing value. It's designed that way. How crooked that is. Your money is designed to lose value. So as every year passes, your money becomes worth less. So in 10 years, the compound average annual rate of inflation on a general basket of goods, which won't be reflective of your life, it's a general basket, is 2.9%, a 25% change in purchasing power. So in that 10 years, your money has lost value, 25% decrease in purchasing power. Isn't that ugly? So people will go around and tell you like, oh, be careful investing, it's risky, etc. It's risky not doing anything. And this is why people do invest, because they're trying to beat the design system that's trying to make their life harder, that things are becoming more expensive. I didn't design the system, don't shoot the messenger, but for some reason we came up with this lovely idea that if everything became more expensive, our life should be better. Brilliant. So that means that when you do earn money, a whole year later, it's worth less and it can buy less. So that's why people do invest it and do park their money in wealth, because they're trying to protect it, because the way that the system is designed is to make sure that a year from now, the money that you have in your hands can't buy as much stuff. It seems ridiculous when you start saying it like that, right? But there are guaranteed 10% returns, and it's guaranteed that you will lose 10% of the purchasing power probably in the next 5 years. So if I change this and I say, okay, well, what about from 2020 through to 2025? Let's find out what our $10,000, what happened to it. So the $10,000 would cost $12,347.91, a 19% change in our purchasing power in 5 years. You're guaranteed 10% returns, but negative ones, because the way that the system is designed is to erode the purchasing power of your dollar. You've got to understand this stuff. And a lot of people have learned a lot over the last 5 years around inflation. But the thing is, it's been here for some time. If I go all the way back to the start of this calculator, let's say if the 1862, let's go back to 2000 and have a look what's happened in that 25 years. So $10,000 in quarter one of 2000 would cost $18,897.07 to buy the same basket of goods. 10 grand worth of goods in 2000. In 2025, it's now going to cost you basically $18,900. It's a 47.1% change in purchasing power. Your money is losing value. If you just sit on cash, then you're going to lose the value of that cash. It's just the way the system's designed. This is why baby boomers invest into the likes of term deposits. They're trying to protect their money. They had stocks too. Let's not forget that. They'll often say, oh, I didn't learn about this stuff. You did, because they had a massive stock market crash. They've had stocks on the news for many, many decades. It's been in the Herald that they love reading as well. 600,000 readers apparently to that. So they are learning about stocks. So for them to say, I didn't have this education, I think that's a little bit of a cop-out. They've chosen term deposits and things like that. You've got to learn for yourself, okay, maybe that's not fit for purpose for you. What are you going to get comfortable with investing into over the course of your life? You've got a long life. You're going to ride some volatility. We've already seen plenty of it. If you're 37, you've seen the Twin Towers, you've seen a pandemic, you've seen a global financial crisis, you've seen other forms of war. There's a lot of shit that goes on, and all of that is going to impact markets. But you've got to ride out volatility. It's just like a baby, although I don't have one. I believe in the early years, you've got to ride out the volatility. You keep dollar cost averaging into that baby. You know that times will get better. They're crying, they're shitting on the carpet, they're throwing their bottle, they're eating and throwing it, they're spilling stuff. You just got to keep going. You've got to go through the volatility as much as it can be tough. And eventually you look back and you think, what a lovely child. We're so glad we raised that. I hope that's what happens for you. Anyway, that's what Mum said happened to me. But remember that investing is much the same. There'll be ups, there'll be downs, there'll be highs, there'll be lows, there'll be freakouts, there'll be excitement. The less that you let that impact you emotionally, the better that you will be at investing. But you have to understand, if you don't start your learning, you're going to be on the back foot. That's one of the great things about KiwiSaver. It's brought us closer to the education. It's brought us closer to the infrastructure. It's brought us closer to the processes so that we can learn to invest, because we're so far behind as a nation when it comes to investing. A whole generation said, nah, not for me, not shares. We've missed out on all of that compounding. Look at what Warren Buffett's done in that same time that a lot of our baby boomers have said, nah, I'm not investing, nah, leave me out of the stock market, nah, too dangerous, I saw a crash, etc. Hey, maybe we'll have another crash, but we got through the last one. We'll get through the next one, I hope. So we've got to be very careful of what we choose to believe, and you've got to understand some of the stuff, because every year your money is becoming worth less, and it's guaranteed that your money will lose 10% of its purchasing power again. I don't know how long it's going to take, or how long Te Putea Matua is going to take to erode another 10% of your money, but it's going to happen. So you want to understand investing, because this is the system that you live in. Again, I didn't design it, but understand that there's guaranteed 10% returns out there, and they're working against you. So be very careful choosing to do nothing at all. That's also a big risk.